Good morning. It is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. It is a busy Wednesday. Today, we talk about Black Business Month as August kicks off National Black Business Month. One retailer is putting his money where his mouth is. Also, residents of Georgia can claim embryos as dependents on their tax returns, according to guidance issued by tax officials in the state. And why are young Black and Latinos living closer to home or to the home that they grew up in? We're going to discuss that this morning. In Kansas, perhaps Democrats have been given a Hail Mary, because in Kansas, voters overwhelmingly decided to vote to keep in the state constitution the legal right to an abortion. All that and more with James Washington of the Atlanta Voice and Dallas Weekly, and NNPA journalist Barrington Salmon. Good morning, guys. And I don't hear either one of y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning, class.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, it's National Black Business Month, and one of the country's leading athletic retailers is giving back to the Black community to kick off National Black Business Month. Foot Locker has revealed it invested close to $54 million in the Black community through its fiscal year ended in 2021. The investment, which went to fund the leading education and economic development initiative, or LEAD, was detailed in the company's annual progress report. So, Black Business Month, James, you're a Black business owner. I'm going to start with you. When you see companies like Foot Locker doing something like this, $53 million. How does that move your business? I mean, what do you project from that? Other businesses obviously need to follow.
Now, it's early for me. I told you I would be on this show because I love you. Now, when you ask me questions like that, I feel like I want to drink out of my coffee so I can talk intelligently to it.
Well, drink up.
Let me see if I can answer it this way. Very appreciative, but it's long overdue, and it's about time, in the sense of being fair to our community from a retail, consumer, marketing, capitalistic basis. These things are welcomed, but I just believe there should be more, and it should be kind of across the board if you look at the institutional things that have been done to our community and our businesses. So I'm looking good. I'm feeling good about it, but it's sort of like reparations. Can I get at it this way? Then I'm okay. But that's my take on it at this point. And there's more to come. I'm absolutely sure of it, because people are starting to realize that the fabric of any community in a capitalist society starts with a healthy business community.
Yeah, and Barrington, we saw a lot of this right after the George Floyd murder, and businesses started to pour resources and money into the Black community and Black businesses. Now it's Black Business Month. Is this, do you get a sense that companies do this just, for that spur of the moment thing? Oh, let me just do what's right for the moment.
The thing that, like Mr. Washington said, yeah, it's long overdue. But the thing for me is, it makes me wonder if it's structured the way that the IMF and the World Bank do things, where they'll tell the Atlanta Voice, we're going to give you $50 million, and $49 million of it goes to their consultants, to their technicians, to their vendors, and the Atlanta Voice might get $1 million. So I guess if I knew how it was structured, I'd have a better sense of if it's really as beneficial as it should be. And I also just keep on thinking that they get away too easily by being able to come, Black Business Month, and give what to me is a pittance, because Foot Locker is national, and I'm sure they're probably making billions of dollars. So $54 million to me, okay.
Well,
Go ahead, James.
oh no, I mean I agree with everything that's said, and for us, because there's a little gray in his beard, no hair on my head, a little gray in yours, etc. You know, we have perspective. Nothing is these kind of things. You want to be a movie and not a snapshot. So if you look at the snapshot, everybody should jump up and down about it. I agree. All right. But we've been living a movie. So as we're living a movie, there's so much that has happened before now that, and I like the term that I used, there's a structural consideration. If this is part of how they're going to do business going forward, then I'm in. All right. Because of the structural nature of what can be done. And we're looking at this down here in terms of Black-owned businesses. If you look at the structural nature of it, then it reads like a economics 101. Okay, a healthy business community. Those businesses hire folk who look like them, and as those folks now become tax-paying citizens and all that, it's a win-win across the board. That is just the way the rules are. For them to pick a time or pick an instance like this month, if you will, as opposed to this is capitalism. And capitalism, last I heard, was 365, and if they can get 366 out of it, they will. So I just happen to be that guy who says, I understand it, but I also kind of look at capitalism to say, well, all right, what did they get out of it? What are they getting at? Yeah, good press, good publicity, and that kind of thing. But the lingering nature of it, according to what Barrington just said, the lingering nature of it says, well, if the businesses are not going to be better as a result of it, then it's like Christmas. It's a one-time shot.
Yeah,
make what you can, get what you can. All right. Now here comes New Year's. What you gonna do? Now that is, and I don't want to come off to our listeners as thinking, well, it's a pittance, it's not working, etc. If this is an effort that is going to be continuing and it's going to be sustainable, I'm there. Excuse me, it's on the front page of my paper. If that's it, I just like you said, I need to know more.
Yeah, and a couple of highlights. I want to highlight a couple of comments. David Youngblood says DEI is a popular concept these days, but without a budget and direct report to CEO, it means nothing. And Paris Brown of the Baltimore Times writes in that Black spend, and maybe this puts it in more perspective, Black spend $70 billion in sneakers alone last year, and Black retailers saw little of it. While we appreciate the 54 million, it is small in comparison to what Black spent.
But Stacey, if you look at this, what I'm thinking about is, okay, we have to look at this thing in completely institutional terms, because I don't know how many companies or franchisees, Black franchisees, this company has. I don't know if they have a management program. I don't know if they have a training and retention program for young Black people and that type of stuff. So until I know what that is,
right,
and then I'm not sure if this is a one-time drop in the bucket.
Right? Exactly.
And I just one more thing. I'm sorry.
Please, no.
For me, the patrons of these Black businesses, they're getting hammered by inflation, by companies by the 2- and 3-tiered system that gives them less money. I just saw a post on Facebook from my friend Dr. Avis Jones the Weaver saying that the amount of money that Black women are making has fallen. It used to be 63 cents to the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
That a white person makes. Now it's down to like 57 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're continuing to lose ground economically, and we're not really. There's nobody that I see who's really even dealing with that, because they keep on acting as if it's all about money and all about class and not about race.
Well, let me tell you, folks look for ways to find write-offs in their taxes. James, in Georgia, your state.
Wait. I was born in Illinois. I live in part of my world in Texas.
You operate a business in Georgia. So let's
I
let's
help. Never mind. Go ahead. What's your point?
yes, you help operate a business in
Yes, I do.
Georgia.
Yes, I do.
Let's get it right because the boss is Janice Ware. We're not
Yeah,
going to
she
make
might walk in here in any minute.
exactly. But residents of Georgia can now claim embryos as dependents on their tax returns. According to new guidance from the state, the Georgia Department of Revenue said it released the tax rules in light of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, which went into effect last month and describes an embryo as a natural person, granted it personhood status. Um, James, your reaction to this, and how is that going to affect folks as they file taxes?
Now wait a minute. Now see there. Let me put my head down so I don't curse. All right. Everything that you're seeing right now is going to become a byproduct of the law that people did not anticipate, and so everybody is reacting. And a lot of what's going on here, and I hope I'm being heard correctly. Anything and everything that I can do to get myself reelected, I'm going to do. So if this is looked upon by the electorate, those who are pro-life, if you will, versus those who are pro-choice, then I don't want to call it a bone because it's significant, but here's something that might make the bill more palatable. All right. It just might. And I don't know, because it's so recent, how our community is going to relate to that, because there are all kind of things. I mean, if you want a show, you should put a camera in our newsroom and our offices based on this law, because now folks are literally saying what people should do who have to have children is take their children and leave them on the steps of the Supreme Court, as opposed to a firehouse.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, just all of the things that happen, such that folks who are caught up in this, they basically you should give your children to the state, so the state can raise them, the state can take care of their livelihood, if you will, at a decent level, educate, etc. Because the state has taken over a certain aspect, and people are reacting to that. Now, the other side is also reacting, if you will, to the consequences of this law. Mm-hmm. I simply put it that way because you asked me the question, and that is, I don't know how Georgians feel about it or going to react to it, because if it's one of those things whereby you need a tax accountant to get it through your tax return, then it's going to be a problem for a lot of people. If it's an easy checkbox kind of thing, because now you got to prove you're pregnant. All right. You can't just do it. You got to prove that you're pregnant. So it's a little convoluted to me. So I'm not sure I understand, because something else is coming.
James, they said that under that Georgia statute, parents may claim embryos as early as 6 weeks. And so, whereas before the child had to be born to be claimed. Now, if you 6 weeks, and Barrington Michael Haney Sr. writes in that it's an interesting tax law there in Georgia. Will that ultimately mean each abortion could be considered a homicide?
But that's if you look at what Louisiana tried to do until the judge stopped it. They tried to pass a law saying that if you abort a child, it's murder. Mm-hmm. So, we were talking earlier off camera about the fact that you have a bunch of idiots. Greer says that's my favorite word. You have a bunch of idiots that have been put in positions of responsibility, and they're as dumb as a stick, or they're smart and they act as if they're stupid, because the types of things that they're doing, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And the thing that I'm looking at is that Alito and Clarence Thomas, Gorsuch, Coney Barrett, they were so intent on overthrowing Wade. When they asked Alito about considering what some of the consequences, unintended and otherwise, would be, he said that's not his problem. That's a state. Right. And so basically they have just tossed a Molotov cocktail back to the states, and regular people and legislators and other elected officials are trying to figure out what to do. I just read something where they were saying there's a woman in Texas who walked around with her dead fetus in her for 2 weeks because they couldn't figure out if they were allowed to give her a DNC. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is gonna be with us for decades, a generation, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, you got something. They're gonna have to write a law that says it's either legal or illegal for a pregnant woman to ride in an HOV lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're
how
gonna
about
have to
that?
write a law.
Yeah.
All right, because she said, "Hey, if this is a human being, I mean," and so they literally it headlined one of the news stations here,
Yeah.
and I realized how long are we going to be in court fighting the, what did they call it, the unintended consequences of this law, because people will be creative. I had not heard about. It's depressing to hear. Well, you know, if you abort somebody, that's murder. And the person who did it, the doctor who does it, which
Yeah.
is now where doctors are. It's like, can I or can I not do this because I could get? I mean, it is the consequences of it are immense, and we don't even know where they are or
Yeah,
how.
Bobby Henry of the West Side Gazette, he writes in that on one hand, you want the government to stay away from governing a woman's body, and then on the other hand, you're asking them to tax an embryo. He says, I'm confused. But you know, in Kansas, we talked a little bit before we went on the
Mhm.
air. Look what happened in Kansas last night. Overwhelmingly, voters turned out Barrington. I think he said the last tally was 63%. So they voted to uphold in the Kansas Constitution the right to an abortion.
It was interesting because I kind of kept my eye on it throughout the day, and the Republicans were up to their dirty tricks as usual.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the legislators wrote the amendment in a way that made it seem like if you said yes, because then they had
Oh, right, I heard that.
advertisement saying that if you vote yes, you're supporting the right of a woman to have an abortion, which is a lie. Then they had a 1-800 number calling people and texting people, lying about what, trying to get them to vote opposite. So, but the thing is that like I said earlier, the Democrats, if they pray, they should be praying and thanking God that the idiot Republicans, that they overplayed their hand, the conservatives overplayed their hand, because before Roe versus Wade, I kept on thinking that Democrats were going to get a shellac in the midterms, but I mean, it's looking more likely based on what these poll experts and others are saying, that young people who they need, suburban mothers, and others who have been either ignoring or straying away from the Democratic Party are going to be voting in large numbers in the midterms, animated because of what the Supreme Court did.
Well, interesting enough, Kansas is one of the more conservative states in the country.
Say it again. It's not it is one of the most conservative states. It is so bright red, you got to put on sunglasses, bruh.
This you are so right in this regard, and that's, I mean, the illustrious Bobby Henry, and that is, you know what, for a political organization that has been so hell bent on less government, keep the government out, less government is always better. To do something like this, I believe they were very, very short-sighted, and part of it is because they've been at it for as long as they have to overturn this. And you look up and all of a sudden you say, all right, if it's the economy and the inflation, people are kind of strange, and the inflation and having to go to the pump and seeing that becomes very personal. It is not political. Now, politicians make that political. So you mean to tell me you're going to get as personal as you can get when it comes to what a woman has, what anybody has?
Yeah.
This is personal.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything that a politician doesn't want, who is really just a professional politician, you want to appeal to people at a certain level,
yeah.
But now you're taking from people. And this is about as personal as you can get. And therefore, this is one of those things, using Kansas as an example, where you can throw political party out the window. That 63% wasn't all Democrats.
Yeah. Well, hey, James and Barrington, more than 2/3 of young adults in the United States live close to the homes that they grew up in, according to a new Census Bureau and Harvard University study. They found that Latinos and Black Americans and those from low-income families who left home only to move back or at least move a short distance away. It's an interesting thing. The report they found that more Black and Spanish young adults decide that they want to be closer to the home that they grew up in. I mean, what does that tell us?
I got an opinion about everything, but I've just met my co-guest here, so I will.
Okay,
I got a point.
Well, but Barrington, though, the economic opportunities for Black and Hispanics are just not what it is for others, right?
Yeah, that's true. And at the risk of painting too broad a brush, a lot of times when I look at stats and talk to people, there is that sense that they want to be close to their family. They want to be close to their family. And I mean, economics too has thrown everything on its head, because this is the first generation that is doing poorer economically than the previous generation. So I can't tell you how many people I know who are of a working age who are still home because they can't afford it. It's so precarious financially, trying to get out there and stuff. And to me, just off the top, that to me presents an opportunity for business people and all these others, that if there isn't a ring or a radius in these communities, that they can start building out goods and services for these young people and their families.
Well, Bobby Henry, the illustrious Bobby Henry, says that it tells him that when all hell breaks loose, I'll be close to somebody who can help me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bobby. I mean, he's summed that up in a way that I would suggest that, depending on who does the study answers questions for that study, so to speak. Right. But what Barrington just said is very important. I mean, Black folk been knowing for a long time that, home with grandmama, home with mama, etc. Now, we did not have what you would call quantitative data to explain the phenomenon, but we knew the phenomenon was happening.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of it was happening based on what was just said about people being close to home, etc. A lot of it was forced, and it's not just our community. So to look at the study and pull out Blacks and Hispanics, if you will, or people of color, is one thing. To look, I'm one of those people that says, I understand the data, but let me go out in the world and look at it. Yeah. We're not the only community where folks are coming home. All right. Now, and they're getting closer to home. I like what Bobby is saying about, there's a safer scenario. I'd like to think that I can look at the cup as being half full as opposed to half empty. But if there was ever any indication that families are going to get stronger, here it is.
Yeah.
Because, that kind of scenario, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Now, we have said for a long time that immigrants come here, they coalesce around family, and out of that grows economic stability for that family, if you will. And we got to get away from home. Once I'm gone, so to speak. Well, that's a philosophy and a reality. Is this a real reversal, if you will? Is this a real trend? And if it is, let's see if we can't do something about what the consequences look like when you have a multi-generational family living either close or in proximity to each other or in the same way. Now I got 3 incomes.
Yeah.
I have in-house babysit. I got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's based on the pro side, the positive side, as opposed to the negative side. I don't know if that's what's happening, but it's something that we have to. I think we should take care. We should take advantage of all things that can make our community stronger.
James,
Yeah.
James is so right. It's interesting because my wife and I are immigrants, have immigrant backgrounds, and it's always interesting because we have friends of ours who are American, primarily African American, who are always asking, when are you going to get your children out of your house?
Okay.
You know, when they're 18 years old, and it's like, really? Because and you know, our children, the way that the this life is structured at the moment in this part of the world, you can't, they're not getting enough money, enough hours and money to be able to launch out on their own, to have a house or an apartment and a car and pay for gas and pay for food and pay for utilities. So our thing is like, yo, this is your safe harbor
Hmm.
for as long as you want, until you figure out what that you want to go out on your own. I think COVID has done a great deal in helping people to reorient what's important. And this study, maybe, I don't know if I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but I'm thinking that what the results of this study are maybe a consequence in some big or small way of people realigning themselves because of COVID exposing all of the flaws and the fissures in society.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of taking care of home, what's with the U.S. government, guys? They don't want to take care of their veterans. They want you to go to war, but they don't want to take care of you. So Jon Stewart, the
Yeah.
comedian, demonstrated in front of the Capitol this week to urge senators to pass legislation providing more funding for veterans who have been exposed to toxic burn pits after President Joe Biden called to thank Jon Stewart. And last night, of course, the Senate passed the PACT Act by an 86-11 vote after Republicans finally caved to that pressure. But why does it take pressure when they have all these recruiting efforts, they commercials and everything, fight for your country, and then they don't want to take care of them.
But
That
I'm sorry. Go on,
No,
Jay.
no, that to me is what I was talking about, the byproduct of being too political. So they thought, meaning that party, and I want to say that, it could have been the other party. We're going to do something that the research or the data or the polls say we should do because we're in the driver's seat, or we want to make sure that we don't give the other party a win scenario. And they overplayed their hand. Plain and simple, they overplayed their hand. Now they've been overplaying this hand forever. Let's not even talk about the conditions in veteran hospitals for this. So your generality earlier about we don't take care of our veterans is a fact, but all of a sudden it becomes one of, this is ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous, because you think you're going to get brownie points going into the midterms. It's clear.
Yeah.
It's just clear that's what you did. And you had somebody like, it's not even, Jon Stewart became a face and a voice, but he's been there for a while. But when you got veterans sitting on the Capitol, and this is all around, it doesn't have to be a lot of folks. And now people could look at it and say, this is ridiculous. And this is what you would call political blowback, because politics create this. This is what I was saying about the law. There's going to be, there's blowback that we saw in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
There's blowback because and that to me is, and I don't know what it is, the polarization, if you will, there is no compromise. It used to be a pretty simple thing as it relates to looking at politics. It really was.
Yep.
One wanted less government, the other wanted more government. Now let's have some statesmen in the middle who can come up with a compromise to take care of the citizens. That middle has gone away. But now you can't even compromise and say that's a good idea. The idea of a bipartisan anything makes national news.
Yeah. But James, if you look at the arc of politics since like when Newt Gingrich was speaker, they said before that group of Republicans came into office, it was customary for Democrats and Republicans to meet, to have tea, to drink, to talk, to interact. And they said that one of the things that they put in place was that at the cost of losing committee seats or them primarying you, they forced Republicans to not associate with Democrats at all outside of Congress. So we're seeing what we're seeing is the development of hyperpartisanship,
Yes.
and this winner take all scorched earth policy, and people who, because I did the calculation, 535 people in Congress, 92, almost $93 billion a year we're paying them. And they said between 1% and 3% of the things that the American voters and public want, they pass in any given Congress. Mm. It's a waste of time. We're not getting the benefits for what we're paying. Mm-hmm. And I saw clips of Ted Cruz and some of them other mascots high-fiving when they killed the bill.
Yeah.
And James said they severely overplayed their hand. I don't know how they thought anything other than what was going to happen. And I admire Jon Stewart because I was laughing because Stacey, we talk about the 7-second rule. They were beefing John every
James, we need a 7-second button for Barrington at times. That's what he's really.
Oh, is that okay? I didn't know.
We need that, that delay. So anytime you have him on, anytime you have him on one of your lives, you make sure you have that button ready. Have it like that Staples button. That was easy. Or have the Barrington button. That's sure. But look,
but when you look at it and you actually say it's obvious, it's sort of like the Wizard of Oz, and they pull the curtain back and there's a guy messing with the buttons.
Yeah.
Well, I have said this, and this maybe for another show or what have you. I have said that, you know what? As soon as you put race in any discussion, it polarizes folks. Yep. All right. I mean, it really polarizes folks. However, I'm old enough to have taken civics in grade school. Pull your books out, folks, and there's a legislative branch, and there's this branch, and there's that branch, and here's what the Supreme Court does, and here's what the Senate. Somebody writes the law, somebody passes the law, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's me being, by state sanction, looking to make me more aware about how our government works. Now, it's gone. Yeah. So now today, wouldn't you want, and what we're talking about is, it's journalists have to be aware, if you will. But if I say woke, which that's all it means, is we would like an aware citizenry. But if I say, no, stay woke, I've introduced race, there's no discussion. Everybody go to their corner and let's fight about it. And somehow we have evolved, as Barrington said, into this hyper partisanship, if you will, that common sense does not even have a platform in the public sector to even have a debate, which was at one point what I thought was government was all about.
But you got to remember that we're dealing with the browning of America.
True.
We are, and that's Barrington. We're gonna have to leave it there. We're over time. We gotta run. I'm so sorry, Barrington, James. Y'all both got to come back.
Wait a minute, I'm a little pissed off. I got up for this thinking it was an hour. Man, I'm gonna call you, Barrington. All right, we'll have our own conversation about it.
Yes, y'all hang on, and thank you so much. Lots to discuss. Look, we love it when there's more to be said. So
all right,
tomorrow we'll be back at it. And James, you got to come back. No matter how much I get on your nerves, you got to come back.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining. Let it be known. We'll see you tomorrow.